Hi there and welcome. This is Casey and I am back with another iris reading, and I am providing these iridology readings at a discount for those who would like to have their eyes read and then have that reading be used as educational material for anyone who is learning iridology. So for anyone who is learning iridology, I'm wondering, when you're looking at this eye at first glance, what is it that you see that is the most striking feature? What is catching your attention right away? Now, for me, there's actually two things that are catching my attention pretty equally. And one is the fact that this person has a very strong genetic heritage. You can see that in the finely woven trabecula or iris fibers. They're very closely woven, they're very straight. I would describe this in terms of, in iridology, they have the cloth analogy, and this certainly would be a silk constitution. Now, these silk constitutions are ever rare. Mostly I see them not in the younger generations, let's put it this way. So this person's actually a family friend, and I do know that he is in his 70s and that both of his parents have lived well into their 90s. So I think this is a really interesting example for anyone to see that someone with this level of strength in their constitution and how that has reflected in the lifespan of his parents. And then also, like I said, he is in his 70s, very active, very healthy. In fact, I don't even have a list of complaints or any health concerns that he's given me, so I'm just doing this reading and we're just going to see what we see. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm seeing, very strong constitution. And the second thing is this high amount of sulfur. A lot of sulfur. You can see that in the yellowish orangish, a lot of lymphatic congestion. So this is a blue eye, and it may appear at first glance, especially if you're not looking, at an up-close photo or with a magnifying glass. While you speak to this person, it's going to look like they have maybe like a hazelish, brownish eye. You could probably see that there's hints of blue in there, but for the most part, you can see this sulfur and lymphatic congestion is making this blue eye appear to be more brown in color. Okay, so another feature that's really interesting that I want to speak to briefly, I'll probably do another video on this topic, just on this topic, but you can see in just outside the periphery of the iris, so we have the skin ring right in here, and there is a skin ring, so some concern with the health of the skin, but just out, especially in this area in here, and just outside of that, which is what I'm highlighting, is this sort of bluish haziness, and we would refer to this as an anemia ring. Okay, so like I said, this is a healthy person. I don't know that he's having any symptoms of anemia, but there is an anemia ring. Now, an anemia ring doesn't necessarily mean that this person is going to be showing symptoms or even that they have low iron. In fact, you can have anemia and have high iron. So anemia, from my perspective, is more a matter of malabsorption, which we see right in here. You can see that there is an absorption ring directly surrounding the pupil, as well as there can be, related to anemia, weakness in the kidneys. So we're seeing a bit of a kidney weakness right in this area in here. So, the kidneys produce a hormone called erythropoietin, and also known as EPO, probably better known as EPO. And that hormone creates red blood cells and raises the hemoglobin amount in the body. And hemoglobin is that iron-rich protein that helps red blood cells carry oxygen from the lungs to the rest of the body. So some of the symptoms of anemia would include a chronic tiredness, weakness, some dizziness, sometimes shortness of breath, and quite often there can be an irregular heartbeat also associated with anemia. So most of the time in that mainstream world, when you hear of anemia, people tell you to eat meat, especially red meat. No, don't do it. So there are many, but like I said, it's not a matter of how much iron is in the body. It's a matter of how well you're absorbing the nutrients and the iron from your food, and very much related to the health of the kidneys. So yes, you can be taking in, there's so much iron in fruits and vegetables, especially the leafy greens, as well as a lot of fruits. So green juices and fruit diet would be perfect for someone with anemia because you're getting bioavailable iron. All right, so taking supplements, not recommended. Actually, that can do more harm, more damage than good. So what you're doing is you're providing, in terms of the anemia, you're providing your body with bioavailable nutrients, minerals, iron. Nettle especially is super high in iron, dandelion greens, and like I said, a lot of different fruits and vegetables. But you're also working on the health of your kidneys. And we can see right in this area right in here will be the left kidney, and there is, I'm going to go ahead and highlight that now. So this would be the left kidney and adrenal gland right up in here. So you're working on the health of the kidneys, and in this case especially you're looking at the malabsorption in the stomach and bowels. So until you clear out the mucoid plaque, the sulfur, all of the congestion in the stomach and bowels, your body won't be able to absorb the nutrients that you are providing it. All right, so that is that, and let's go ahead and move on. I want to take a closer look at this stomach and bowel area. All right, so like I said, there is evidence of malabsorption in this pupillary margin. It's sort of dark, uneven, and even more so you can see there are so many radii solaris, or lines radiating, radii solaris meaning sun's rays, toxicity. So it's coming straight from the pupillary margin, which is the stomach lining. So not only do we see a darkness within that pupillary margin, we're also seeing a lot of toxicity coming out of that area, which is added evidence that there is a lot of toxicity within that stomach lining, within the stomach, within the whole digestive system. But you can see how it radiates from the center of the eye. And so yeah, let me outline the bowel wall. And roughly, you can see it sort of loses definition up here in the transverse colon, and we do have some additional radii solaris. They look a little bit deeper, a little bit more chronic up in that area. So I'm going to leave that. that would be roughly the bowel wall. And we could presume that it would just go straight across in here, but there is so much lymphatic congestion and sulfur that we can't see that definition, so I'm going to leave that. All right, so chronic stomach and bowels, we're looking at absorption issues, we're looking at cleaning up the gut, and we can do that with the whole gut protocol. And I'm not going to go into that because I have in several other videos, but certainly I will say that I would recommend some form of bowel cleansing for this person. And absolutely, I love Dr. Morse's GI broom. I think that would be a really great start. And it's not like, oh, I'm going to do some GI broom and, no, this is going to be probably a long-term approach, because you can see that the sulfur and this lymphatic congestion is radiating out into the entire body. Okay, so it's going to take a while. And yeah, if you want to look more into bowel health and gut health, I do have a page on my website for that. So I'm not going to go into that entirely in this video. And I want to go ahead and see what else we see in terms of specifics. So mapping out the iris, so to speak. All right, so this kidney, yeah, I would say this is not, it's not into a chronic or degenerative condition. There is definitely, though, this sort of delineation. You can see that there is some weakness in that left kidney. And then we're also seeing this area right in here is the bladder. So you can see how it sort of outlines itself. And there is a little bit of degeneration in this pocketing right in here, in that bladder area. All right, did I mention, I don't think no. There's a lot of glistening, shimmer, sort of a gelatinous layer on top of the iris, and this is indicating a high level of cholesterol. And we know, especially if you've been watching my videos, cholesterol is related to a high level of inflammation in the body. So we're seeing signs of cholesterol, we're seeing that kidney, adrenal, bladder. And then this area in here, this whole section would be the back. So there could be some inflammation in that back area. And then we have the scapula in this area. And then more specifically, like right in here, we have the esophagus. So the spine, the back, it's not chronic, it could just be some tension in there. Scapula, and then esophagus. Now, this line, this whole area right in here, especially this little dark spot, is all esophagus. Okay, and then we're getting close to where we will find the parathyroid. So the parathyroid is right in here. I would say that's a gland that this person will be addressing. Parathyroid. Thyroid itself, it's not really standing out too much to me. There's a little bit of congestion, possibly some inflammation in there, but no no lacuna or genetic predisposition in that area, in that thyroid, at least on the left side. I believe the right side did show up actually. And when we see the skin ring just inside of the anemia ring, we are going to be wondering the health of the thyroid as well as the kidneys. All right, let's move on. So this area in here, we're still in the small intestine. So this whole section right here is the small intestine. And just outside of the small intestine is the eye. So the actual eye. Right in here. And then this line, this would be like the forehead and temple. If you followed it out. Okay? But this would be still in the small intestine. And then just to the right of it, very close, it does look to be some congestion in that pineal gland. So pineal right in here. And then pituitary would be just to the right of that. So pituitary gland, even though I can see the pineal a little bit better, I would say the pituitary gland is always a great place to start with your detoxification. And I know this person does do some detox and does have a really healthy lifestyle, but in terms of like a long-term approach, taking the pituitary gland formulas or just single herbs that affect the health of the brain and the pituitary gland. Because we want to, when we have this much toxicity in the transverse colon, and that is leading to the head and brain area. So we always want to take good care of our head and brain area. And especially when you have the ability and the strength in your genetics to clear out this congestion and the sulfur. So one of the many advantages of having a strong constitution is usually you do see great results with detoxification. Okay, this line right here would be the vitality brain zone. So we're seeing these little dark, sort of degenerative, and don't be alarmed when I say degenerative, it's just, I've seen a lot of very, very dark lines in very healthy people, but that is the level of imbalance that it's gone from acute to subacute to chronic to degenerative in this area of the transverse colon. And if you were to follow it up, that would be the vitality brain zone. And you can see that there's like a lot of lymphatic congestion in this eye, right? So this is like a little tiny, like kind of blob of lymphatic congestion. Another area high in lymphatic congestion is right in here in that back and spine scapular area. And that's why I'm saying there could be inflammation in here. And then up in here, just congestion in the head and brain area. And I've done a few different videos where we discussed brain fog, anxiety, just other kinds of conditions that are related to congestion. Of course, we're getting into, even vertigo sometimes, memory loss, and this person is quite bright, alert, full mental capacity, but when you see this anemia ring and then you see all this congestion in the head and brain area, I mean, it's not a ton, but there's a little. So that would be something that you would want to address. Okay, and then in here we have this little radii solaris, which is going into the sensory motor brain zone. And here, right in this area, we have a dark radii solaris, this is the neck, so this would be the neck on the left side. And then the mastoid process right in here. Still the neck down in this area, so upper cervical and then lower cervical. The ear right in here. So the whole neck, ear, mastoid, back of the head, mastoid process. And then this heavy lymphatic congestion right here is the left shoulder. So left shoulder. And now we're getting into the lungs and the heart area. So overall, this looks pretty healthy, although I will say there could be some level of, like I said, this is a very strong genetic structure, but there does look to be some level of history somewhere down the line of some weakness in the heart area. So the heart will be something that you are taking extra special care of, and you can take different herbs like hawthorn, and Dr. Morse has a really nice heart formula, but essentially improving the health of the entire body is going to keep that heart healthy. So it's not something you need to address specifically, it's just something that will come into greater balance on the path of detox and healing. Yep, so all this is lung. Pretty healthy. Pretty healthy. Again, this area, there does look to be, like, in this whole section, just especially evidenced by, I see this really dark spot here. This is in the skin zone, even getting into the lymph zone. And then just because it's kind of in that heart and lung area, it does look like there can be a little bit of weakness in the lungs. And I'm just seeing that, just that heart, lung, chest area. Singing, breathing, opening the heart. These are more, emotional, spiritual aspects of this, but it's just interesting that we have this weakness in that skin area on this side. Usually when you see something Dr. Jensen makes a point of teaching in his material is that when you see an additional level of weakness in any area of the skin, then you're going to look inside to the zones inside of that. In this case, it would be the heart and lung. Okay, this would be the left arm. So far I think we saw the shoulder, neck, and a little bit of congestion also in the arm. We have upper abdomen right here, this little psora spot right here, and then the spleen right here. Look pretty healthy. Just a little bit of a psora spot, and then we have this area here is the pelvis. So it could be some genetic weakness in that pelvis area. And then this is interesting, it's the peritoneum, so pelvis, and then the stomach, the pleura that lines the stomach. So the sort of cavity that holds the whole entire abdominal organs together is right in here. So that would coincide with the emphasis on the gut. And then right down in here, we're in the colon, so we're in the sigmoid colon. And the sigmoid colon being that last area of the colon as it transitions into the rectum. So looks like some degenerative, just very small degenerative radii solaris in that sigmoid colon, right in here, which is pretty common. I see that a lot. So this is just one of those cases where if you have stress in that area, you want to make sure that your bowels are moving and that you don't have anything sitting in your rectum for too long, because that just adds toxicity. And then this would be the thigh, knee, foot. Pretty healthy. You can see it's a little bit darker in that area. So it could be something going on. And then I'm going back up here again. Again, this is the neck and shoulder. All right, I think that's it for the left eye. And I'm going to go right into the right eye. I will see you in a second. Hello again. And we're on to the right eye. And pretty much same situation. We still have the anemia ring. We're still seeing some cholesterol. We're still seeing the skin ring, and even more emphasize the skin ring over here, which is actually pretty common. This, again, we're in the lung area, so the chest and lungs, and we did see that on the left side as well. Something that you can see in this iris, and it could just be the photo, but I want to point out there is more evidence of lymphatic congestion in the form of lymphatic tophi. So you see these little kind of clouds showing up. There was a hint of lymphatic tophi. There was a few areas of concentration in the left eye. So again, it could be the photo, but I'm just seeing it more in this eye. So we have just more evidence of heavy lymphatic stagnation. And again, we still have the absorption, the challenges with nutrient absorption, heavy congestion in the stomach and bowels. This picture is great for showing you the ring, the malabsorption ring right here on the edge of the pupil. And then even more so, if you weren't able to recognize that this is a malabsorption ring, you can just see it's sort of darker, a little bit uneven. It's certainly not the worst malabsorption ring I've seen. But I do see it. And I want to point out, just like I did in the left eye, that not only is there a ring around the pupil, but there are several radii solaris coming from that area. So even if you couldn't see that ring, you would be able to see the toxicity radiating from that area. And then again, we don't have any huge ballooning or signs of diverticula, but it is a little bit, this bowel wall is a little bit kind of here and there. So there could be some constrictions in certain areas and slight pocketing in other areas. This is an area I'm going to leave open, but right in here would be that delineation of the bowel wall or autonomic nerve wreath. Okay, so everything inside of the bowel wall, and again, I'm not going to draw it, but it's right in here, is the stomach and bowel area. Everything outside of that is the rest of the body. So we're really working on cleaning up the bowels and removing that sulfur. Okay, I want to show you, so we're going to see in the left iris we find the heart. We don't see the heart reflected in the right side of the body or the right iris. And likewise is true, we don't necessarily see the liver, the organ itself. We do see signs of liver congestion and other forms, but the liver and gallbladder, anatomically speaking, are found in the right iris. And I want to show you, this is a pretty good little example of some weakness in that gallbladder. And then we have a little sore spot right on the liver itself. Okay, and then let me go ahead and highlight that. So gallbladder, this is in the liver area. And this is in the liver area still up in here. This is just the whole liver right in here, and then gallbladder. And the gallbladder and liver being essential to the health of digestion, I would recommend for this person to be taking some of the herbs that are helpful for liver health, especially the milk thistle, burdock, bupleurum, dandelion root, just dandelion itself, the leaves. The root goes the deepest into the internal organs, so that's why you see the dandelion root more often associated with the healing of the liver. Now, all of those herbs are found in Dr. Morse's liver gallbladder. Absolutely recommend that you be taking that formula along with the GI broom, and then along with herbs for clearing out the lymphatic system and healing the kidneys and adrenal. So let's jump over to that right adrenal gland and kidney. So this would be the adrenal gland right here, defining itself so nicely. And then the kidney, just this whole area in here. So just so you guys know, if you're following for educational purposes and you haven't heard me say this before, this chart over here on the right is more for viewing pleasure, I guess, just to kind of make it more of a better visual experience. When I'm doing a reading, I love this chart. I love it. And it actually is based on the Bernard Jensen chart. And I do have this chart in high definition available on my website, and I got that straight from the person that created it. So I also have info on how to purchase it, or just link to his website and his info. He studied with Dr. Jensen. So, but I'm also using my computer software, not exclusively, but I just like to use that to sort of cross-reference everything and make sure that everything is in alignment. So we have adrenal and kidney in this area, and that dark spot, that very small, you could call it, I mean, it looks like a radii solaris because it essentially does look like it's coming from the stomach and bowel area. And it's sort of deep. I mean, you could even think of it as like a crypt. Whereas if you're looking for a lacuna, there aren't very many in these eyes because this is a really healthy, strong constitution. But this would be more of a lacuna. So this sort of oval opening. And this would be a lacuna, this area in here as well. Okay? So let's see. This little cloud right here, my eye just went right to it, and that is the urethra. So I want to circle that because the bladder came up in the left eye. And the back, right in here, the back came up in the left eye. And some degenerative signs coming from the small intestine that are related to that area. And then esophagus coming up. Again, the esophagus came up. And just related to the sort of that throat area. And let's see, it's a pretty, this area right here, when I first went over the photos with my friend, I asked him if he had his tonsils removed, and he said no. But you see this lacuna in the tonsil area, but it's also, so there must have been some sort of weakness in that area. And doesn't necessarily mean that they would be removed. In fact, when they are removed, you don't see like, oh, the tonsil's missing. What you see is a degeneration or chronic level of imbalance, and then you wonder, because of that level of imbalance, were there problems in childhood, and therefore were the tonsils removed? So other than that, you don't see like, oh, there's a missing organ. It's more like there is a chronic level of imbalance that would lead to the medical profession, encouraging parents to have their children's lymphatic organs removed in that area. So tonsils, but I'm seeing this as the thyroid right in here. So thyroid related to the skin, related to so many things. And you can read more about that. I'm not going to go into it. If you want to check that out on my site, I have a whole page on the thyroid, and then we're also seeing the parathyroid in this eye. So parathyroid, especially the parathyroid, which is going to, this line right here I see is like parathyroid and then thyroid. And then tonsils right here. So parathyroid related to calcium utilization and can lead to weakness in the connective tissue, among other things. Okay, this area right in here, the eye, coming from the still the small intestine. And then right here is the pineal gland. So let's get our psychic purple So working on that pineal, and then the pituitary is going to be right in here. And even extending, so the pituitary extending all the way over to here. Pituitary, I would recommend the pituitary in tincture if you're doing Dr. Morse herbs. And capsules are great too, but just for the head and brain area, I prefer the tinctures. And same as with the left eye, there's a radii solaris that just starts to go into the vitality zone. Vitality zone is related to the crown chakra, our connection to source, our the all that is, and also related to both the pituitary and pineal. The vitality zone, in a physical sense, regulates our vitality in life, joy for living, excitement, energy. It doesn't extend all the way through the zone, but I wanted to mention it because the same area was highlighted in the left eye. Okay, let me see if I can see. Because I believe, so this brain zone, this area, and again, we're in the transverse colon. So we have toxicity in the stomach and bowels, it's radiating up into the head and brain area. And this particular brain zone is genetic intelligence, involves the midbrain, emotional, and limbic systems of the cerebrum, as well as memory association areas of the cortex. So also known as the inherent mental or anxiety zone. It is directly related to that, because there's a diagonal line from that brain zone to the adrenal gland. So those two, I don't believe this person does experience anxiety, but that would be one thing when you're looking for anxiety. You're checking the adrenals and then this brain zone opposite that. Okay, we still have a lot of inflammation. You can see that in the white. In that same thing came up on the left side, medulla, mastoid. So far what we're seeing is pretty well reflected from each side. So bilaterally speaking, we're seeing a lot of the same things come up on each side. So this would be that some inflammation possibly. It's not degenerative like in the left eye. We saw that darkness in the neck and shoulder, medulla, mastoid, all that. So it's more like inflammation in that area on this side. A little bit of darkness down in here, which would be actually related to the neck. So lower cervical neck. And then this area here is the chest and lung area. It would be the breast area. And that did show up also on the left side. So just the whole chest, lung area coming up on both sides. It's actually rare that I see lungs that don't have some level of compromise. So that whole area. And other than that, that is what I see for now. And thank you so much for watching. Let me do a real brief protocol for this person because we are in communication. You can feel free to contact me with what questions you might have for what herbs you're going to be taking. But you're going to do the standard. I know he does do the Dr. Morse stuff. So standard, stomach and bowels, definitely include the GI broom, liver, gallbladder. I would do the pituitary formula in tincture if you like tinctures. I would probably also do an adrenal herbal formula as well. You could consider doing I think it's like the thyroid thymus, something to address the thyroid. And you can also just do catch-all the endocrine gland formula. So endocrine gland formula will address all of the glands, as well the pituitary gland formula as the master gland has its own way of addressing all of the glands. And what I like to do is rotate those formulas so that my body and anybody that I'm recommending for, so that your body doesn't get too used to any one formula, so I cycle through them. One of my favorite formulas from Dr. Morse is the pituitary formula. So we're addressing the stomach and bowels, we're addressing the endocrine system, we're addressing the kidneys, and like I said, liver, gallbladder, and then let's see, we have definitely you want to do a lymphatic formula as well. So I think that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free, let me know. Anybody watching for just curiosity or to educate yourself more on iridology, I appreciate you watching, and I hope you're all well, and I will see you soon. Okay, take care. Bye.